Hello Pankhurst, and welcome to your first Talk for Writing lesson this week. But before I get into your lesson, I hope you all had a lovely weekend and you enjoyed your first week of remote learning last week. Now this is your second week of remote learning, and we'll start it off with our Talk for Writing lesson. So before I start teaching you the lesson, I just want to do a little recap on last week. So last week you were introduced to your new key text map, which was about an electric hairbrush, which was invented by a person called Dr. George Scott. Okay, and you were introduced to the fact that you will be looking at the Victorian invention this term, which is your wider curriculum topic overall. And then with Miss Lewis, you looked at a non-chronological report. So for English this term, you will be looking at non-chronological reports, and I understand that you had looked at some of the non-chronological reports features. Okay, so today your learning objective is, can I write out our text map? Okay, now today we are going to write out our text map, but before we write it out, I want you to think about what our everyday writing skills are. So if you can just put your thinking caps on and have a good think about what our everyday writing skills are. Okay, fantastic. Now, on a piece of paper, can you write down what you think they are? Then this is what is going to be used as your success criteria in your writing today. Okay, pause the video and write down what you think your everyday writing skills are. Then come back to the video when you are ready. Now, I want you to check your everyday writing skills success criteria against my expectations. And you know what my expectations are, because whenever we're in school and whenever we're in class, I always remind you of your writing skills in every lesson. Okay, now I want you to compare it to my list that I have up on the whiteboard, which I will show you in a second. And I want you to note down anything that you have missed. So then you add them to your list. So the first is neat and cursive handwriting. So what you must do is you must always start your writing from the margin, and you must always write on the line. Now, if it's a title or a heading, you use a ruler to underline it. You need to make sure that your handwriting is cursive, so your writing needs to be joined up, unless it's the start of your sentence. So if it's a capital letter and it's the start of your sentence, you do not join it up. Okay, you need to make sure that your tall letters are hanging nice and tall, like your L's and your D's. And you need to make sure that your hanging letters are hanging nice and low between at the bottom underneath the line. So your G's, your J's, your P's. Okay, now punctuation must be used in the correct places. So if you are writing a sentence, you need to make sure that it ends with the full stop if it is needed. If you are writing a question, you need to make sure that the end of your question is finished with a question mark. If you are giving a demand or a command, or you're writing a shouting word or a motive word, you need to make sure you're using an exclamation mark. You need to make sure you use your commas correctly. So for example, if you have a list and you write that list down in a sentence, you need to make sure you have a comma after each word until you get to the last word where you use and. You need to make sure you use your speech marks correctly. So this should be used when someone is talking. Okay, and you need to make sure that your sentence always starts with a capital letter. Okay, capital letters are put in the correct places. So like I said, your capital letters need to be put in the correct places, and usually a sentence always starts with a capital letter. A person's name, a name of a place, a name of a country, they all start with capital letters. So most nouns start with a capital letter unless it's a name of an object. So this is a phone. That is a noun, but you will not use a capital letter for that. You will only use a capital letter for the name of a person or the name of a place and a country. Yeah. And I, when you use I as a word. Now, Read back through your work to ensure it makes sense. It's very important for you to read back through your sentence to check that it makes sense, because when you read it out loudly, you'll be able to tell which word you have missed out. And I know everyone's going to say, Miss, I always read through my work, but when I read through your work, I can see a lot of sentences that do not make sense. Okay, so it's very important for you to read back through your work. All right. And in most cases, it's words like a or it or the that are missing, like your main common words. Now, you need to take your time to really think about what you are writing. Don't rush. Remember, I always say quality over quantity, which means I am not looking for 4 pages for one piece of work. I am looking for the quality of work. And when I say quality, I mean it needs to be in your best handwriting. You need to use your punctuation correctly. You need to use your capital letters correctly. You need to make sure you've used amazing adjectives. You need to make sure you use fronted adverbials, that you've given me the best work possible, and that you've read over your work to check that it makes sense. Okay, this is why I always say think about your sentence, say your sentence, then write your sentence. But while you're writing your sentence, say your sentence as well, because you'll then realize if you have missed any words out or not. Okay, now let's read through our text map together. Make sure you include the actions, as this will help to remind you what each part is. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to turn my screen off in the corner here so my face doesn't distract you, and I'm going to read the text map out to you. Now, whilst I'm reading the text map out to you, I would like for you to do the actions to it. If you have forgotten the actions, you're more than welcome to go to last week's work where I showed you the video of Miss Gossage doing the actions and speaking the text map. Okay, I'm going to switch the camera off for you to do the actions while I read the text map to you. Okay, now the electric hairbrush. Introduction. The electric hairbrush was in fact a magnetic brush invented by Dr. George Scott. What does it look like? The electric hairbrush was made of bristles and hot electrical wires. It looked like an ordinary hairbrush, but was engraved with the inventor's name on the handle. What does it do? The electric hairbrush was said to cure baldness and help people's hair thicken and grow. It didn't hurt. It didn't hurt to use the brush, and it became very popular. More information. Dr. George Scott stated that only one person could use a brush at a time. This meant more people bought the brush, with more than one in some households. The electric brush was also said to cure headaches amongst many other diseases. Did you know the oldest brush was 230 years old? Okay. Now, you should have done actions with that, but if you didn't remember the actions, you're more than welcome to pause the video now and go back to last week's video and just look at it again. Okay. Now, before you begin writing out the text map, I am going to model writing part of it for you so that you can see what yours should look like. Okay, I am going to show you on my visualizer. Now, I'm going to show you on my visualizer. So the first thing I'm going to do is write down the name of the subject I am doing right now, which is English. Okay, I'm going to write it on the first line on my page, which is the big chunk at the top. Then next to that, I'm going to write down today's date, which is Monday. Remember, Monday needs a capital letter. Monday, 11th January 2021. Okay, so now can you see how my hanging letters are hanging and my tall letters are tall? But you're not going to write this big on the other lines. This is just because the top bit is big. Now I'm going to miss a line I'm going to miss actually 2 lines, and I'm going to write the heading. Now, on a non-chronological report, you always have the heading to show what the report is going to be about. So I'm going to write the electric hairbrush. Now, because it's the heading, each letter at the start of each word will be a capital letter. So I'm going to write B, as close to the margin as I can. B, using my cursive handwriting. Oh, electric hair brush. Now that I've written the heading, I need to make sure that I underline my heading. However, I don't have a ruler on me right now, so I'm just going to use my card. Okay, if you don't have a ruler, you're more than welcome to use the edge of a book or something, but you should have all had a ruler in your emergency packs. So now I'm going to use this as a ruler, and I'm going to put it on the blue line that I've written on, and I'm going to underline my work. I'm going to make sure that it is straight. Okay, fantastic. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my first paragraph. But before I start writing my first paragraph, I am going to write the subheading of my first paragraph. Okay, now the subheading of my first paragraph is introduction. So I'm going to miss another line, and I'm going to write introduction as close as I can to the margin with my best cursive handwriting. Now I'm going to underline my subheading, okay, and I'm going to start writing my first paragraph. Now, in order for me to remember the sentence to my first paragraph, I am going to look at my text map again. So I'm going to look at my text map, and I'm going to write it down. So the first sentence in my paragraph is, the electric hairbrush was in fact a magnetic brush invented by Dr. George Scott. So I'm going to write this down. I'm going to miss a line and start writing my paragraph. The electric hairbrush was in fact a magnetic brush invented by Dr. George Scott. Now, if you can see, I started my sentence with a capital letter, okay? I made sure that my hanging letters are nice and low. If you look at my G, I made sure that my tall letters are nice and tall. Yeah, and I also used a capital letter for the start of a name. Now, if you have Dr., Mr., Mrs., Miss, okay, any title for the person, it always starts with a capital letter. Now, I am going to write my next paragraph, but before I write my next paragraph, I am going to write the heading. So I'm going to miss another line. Okay, and then I'm going to write the heading, which is, when I look at my text map, it is, what does it look like? So I'm going to write, what does it look like? Do you notice me saying the sentence as I'm writing it to make sure that it's correct? Then I'm going to underline my next subheading. I've also ended my subheading with the question mark. Now I'm going to go into writing my next paragraph. So when I look at the text map, okay, and when I watch the video, I know that the next word, the next sentence is, the electric hairbrush was made of bristles and not electrical wires. I'm going to miss a line to start again, to start my paragraph. So the electric hairbrush, yeah, was made of bristles and not electrical wires. Okay, now you've seen how I've laid out my non-chronological report. So you've seen what I'm expecting, and I have used my everyday writing skills. Now what I would like you to do is, now what you should do is, it's your turn. Okay, now it's your turn. Use your everyday writing skill success criteria to write out the whole of your text map. So once you have done that, please upload your work onto Tapestry. I'm really excited to see your first non-chronological report about your text map. Okay, fantastic. Well done, Pankhurst. And I'll see you in your next video. Goodbye.